In this week's videos, we're gonna do Wamba Ball Part 2. It's gonna be a 3-person game. You'll if you watch it, you'll see Mr. Silva's son Cray will help us out. But what can you do if you don't have other people to play with in your family? Now, hopefully, things are gonna start opening up, and we're gonna be able to start getting together in smaller groups. And so, if that's the case, you'll probably be able to find some friends to play Wamba Ball. And you can play it like we did at school, or you can play a version like Mr. Silva and Cray demonstrated where there's 3 of you guys, and you just might make a few modifications that you can see in the video that allow you to play with just 3. But again, what if you don't have other people to play with? But it's pretty hard by yourself to practice batting. It's pretty easy to throw. You can throw against a wall. Not necessarily the most exciting thing, but you can do it. Batting. So I'm going to give you a couple options on batting. The first way to practice batting is make your own batting tee. All right, so you're going to need a stick. Now, this is just a regular old stick I cut down. I did sharpen it. Get some help from a parent to sharpen it, and then get some help from a parent. You're going to pound this into the ground, and you're simply going to put your PVC pipe down on top of it, and that's going to be your baseball batting tee. Now, I just had this old piece of PVC pipe laying around my house. It happened to be about the right height for me too. It does not need to be this heavy, large PVC pipe either. Okay, so that's your batting tee. Now, what if you don't even have a ball? Now, you can use a sock ball, but a sock ball, when you hit it with a baseball bat, is going to tend to fall apart pretty quick. Now, one option is duct taping this pair of socks. Now, I don't really want to ruin this pair of socks, and I use them. So I found a couple old rags, and what I'm going to do is just ball them up, and you want to do your best to make it as round as possible, and that's going to be a pretty big ball, but I'm still going to use it to demonstrate. And then you need a roll of duct tape, and I should have gotten this started already. Okay, you get a length. I know this sounds so silly, but this ball is actually going to be a pretty good ball because duct tape's pretty strong. It'll add some weight to the ball, and it'll actually hit. You'll be able to hit it and throw it pretty well. You can even use this in Wamba Ball. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle yet. You're going to kind of finish it off with the tape. As you roll it, you're going to make sure it's in a ball. You're going to turn it slightly as you roll it. And like I said, I know this sounds kind of silly. You're making your own ball. You could just go to a store. You're right, you can. And if you happen to have something like a wiffle ball, that works well. How do you make a wiffle ball a little heavier? Tape it. It seems silly, but it actually works really well. Obviously, not any tape will work, but something like duct tape that's a lot stronger will work really well. And a sock ball like this is not going to fly as well. You can throw it decently, but it's going to be better for something like hitting. It's probably hard to hear me while I talk while I'm doing this. Okay, and it's not quite round, so I'm going to take some more tape, kind of get that side that's a little bit misshapen, and finish it off. And believe it or not, you have a decent ball. Now, hopefully you have something like a baseball bat around your house. But if you really need to improvise, take a broomstick. Now, a lot of broomsticks actually have this thread on the end that you can unscrew it from the broom, because obviously you don't want to use the baseball bat with this broom on. Okay, so that's how you make, or that's what you need to make your batting tee. Hey, so now I've got my homemade ball, and I've also made a homemade batting tee. I just simply took a stick that I had, I sharpened one end. You can get some help from a parent with that. And then I had an old piece of PVC pipe laying around my house that I stick over it, set the ball on it. But then you've got a homemade batting tee where you can practice. And if you don't want to chase it, hit into a wall or some object that you're not going to break, but it's going to bounce back. So I'm going to have a nice wide stance. I'm going to keep my hands up. I'm gonna take a little step and I'm gonna throw my hands at the ball. With your hands, make sure your back hand is stacked on top of your front hand. Let me take another cut. Okay, so for this next one, you still need your baseball bat. You don't need your sock ball. That you could use your sock ball. You could use your sock ball and do what I'm gonna do with the wiffle ball. But I like a wiffle ball better. This is actually pretty heavy. And you don't want something that's super heavy for this next one. So a couple things you need. You need your duct tape. You need your baseball bat, like I mentioned. You need a wiffle ball or something equivalent. Set my coffee out of the way. Then you need a piece of string that has a nice big loop. It does not need to be this big. And this length depends on how high you're hanging this from. So I'm going to take this. Let me go ahead and get my duct tape ready. You can tie it onto the ball. That's a great way to make sure it stays on here. Or you can just put it through one of these holes. Because once you do that and you wrap this line around the ball, it really, as long as you tape it a few times, it won't come off. So now that I've got that wrapped around the ball a couple times, I'm going to take my duct tape. I'm going to make sure I get it stuck on there so it's not going to unravel on me. And then I'm simply going to go around this. Okay, so that will hold for now. You're going to be hitting this with the baseball bat. And so if you don't put several rounds of duct tape on this, it will actually, you'll start breaking the duct tape just because you're hitting it with a blunt object. But so now I've got this set up. Now I need another piece of string. And what you're going to do is you're going to simply just put this through. Okay? And here's the important part. You'll see in the next video, you're going to tie this to a post and tie the other into a post. My string's just really long because I didn't want to cut it and waste it since I wasn't going to leave it up there permanently. But so you've got this hanging. You want that ball to be able to swing around in a circle without getting tangled up. So if you tie this, string to the one I'm holding, eventually what will happen is it'll wrap around and it'll get twisted and you'll have to keep undoing it. Same thing if you put it on a tree branch, it'll wrap around the tree branch every time. So every time you'll have to work to get it undone. And that obviously slows down the process. This was one of my favorite ones just because it is such a great opportunity in a small space to practice batting or swinging. And you can hit that ball pretty much as hard as you want, as long as you've taped it well. And you can hit it over and over without having to chase it. So it's a great way to set up batting. Like I said, if you're by yourself and you don't have a family members to play Wamba ball with, or you don't have space to do it. So have fun with this. Build some of your own sports equipment. There's other stuff you can do. Be creative. Have fun. And hopefully you also check out our Wamba ball video and try that out once summer hits and we're allowed to gather up in small groups. All right, have fun. Check out that other video. All right, so here's another option for practicing your batting. You need 2 posts. It could be a tree. It could be a clothesline, but it needs to be a little taller than you are. This one's a little short for me. I'm gonna tie my string across those 2 posts. And then notice how I have this ball that I taped the string to. I wrapped it around several times so that when I duct tape it, it's gonna hold. And then I have a nice big loop because when I wanna hit this ball, I don't want it to get tangled up every time. Okay, so make sure you have room to swing. Same thing we talked about earlier, good stance. You can stop the ball. Set it. And that's another great way to practice your batting or your hitting at home with not needing a lot of equipment.